Well, good morning my lovelies, and welcome to a very overcast, a very damp and a very wet Monday morning. I hope you're all well. Oh, it's not very grand this morning, is it, lovelies? Although it's not too cold, it's slightly mild, but yeah, the weather's not too grand today. Anyway, yeah, it's Monday, and I'm making a video at 10:30 in the morning when I should be at work. It is here in the UK, it's Easter Bank Holiday Monday. So if you're one of these lucky people that have got an extra day off work, or you've booked it off, well done you. Yeah, it's one of those days where, if you're lucky, people get an extra day off work because it's a bank holiday here in the UK. So it's what's left of Easter. So today we see the start of April. Dear April. We've started the second third of the year, and this is when spring really kicks in April. So hopefully we'll be able to see a lot of new shoots and leaves and plants and all kinds of things popping up. New life. Anyway, so today there's two things happening today. One of them is Aprilfools Day, being it's the 1st of April, and the other one is Mercury in retrograde starts today. So I thought we would have a look at both of them and try and discuss, or try and work out how, where and why these things happen. So first of all, April the 1st. Now, I spent all morning mooching on the internet for the whys and wherefores of April Fool's Day, and to be honest with you, there was nothing that could actually pin it down to say that it started on this date, in this place, on this year. The closest I could get to it was April Fool's Day, 1st of April, is a day where we play pranks and practical jokes on people. But where did it come from? Although there's no hard facts about how and where it started, it is believed it started in France, when King Charles of France decided that the new year would no longer start in April, that it would start on January the 1st. So they moved the calendars round from the Gregorian to the Julian, or from the Julian to the Gregorian, whichever way it went. They did this, he did this, because April is a lunar month and a changeable month, which means that Easter doesn't always fall on the exact same date. So we could have, like, we've had Easter at the end of March and I've known it halfway through April. So they decided that they would move the dates from April to January to make things like date changing a lot easier, so the dates wouldn't change. Also, the other school of thought I found was that those that clung to the old ways after the calendar was moved and we all went from doing New Year in January instead of in April, were considered fools because they weren't going to change, they weren't going to follow the new ways. And also, the other thing I found was that people were confused with the spring equinox and stuff because of the changing of the weather. So one day you might get beautiful spring day with lots of sunshine, another time you might get torrential rain, another time I've even known it snow in April. So that So people were quite fooled about the weather and they didn't know how to take it. Whether was it spring? Was it winter? Is it the summer? We don't know. So that was another reason, another thing I found with April. But yeah, it's a thing that happens every year, April 1st. Nobody seems to know where it's come from. Nobody seems to know how it's materialised. There's lots of different conflicting information. But as of now, we all know that April 1st is Aprilfools Day, and always will be. So, if you're going to play pranks on people, don't be rotters about it, don't be mean, just, you know, play nice pranks. But you've only got till lunchtime apparently to do it, and then after that they're null and void. Very strange. So, our next one is Mercury in retrograde, which starts today, so bear with me, lovelies. Right then, lovelies, Mercury in retrograde, that dreaded 3 weeks that we have 2 or 3 times a year where Mercury goes into retrograde and everything goes bloody Pete Tong. Anything that goes wrong will go wrong, and we have an excuse. Rather than blame it on ourselves, we blame it on Mercury in retrograde. So Mercury in retrograde falls on April the 1st and ending on the 25th. It's the first retrograde of 2024 with another 2 to follow. One that will run in August and one that will run from November to December this year. Mercury in retrograde tends to affect a lot of things in our lives. Whether you believe it or not, but it does tend to. And like I said, for these 3 weeks that it's gone retrograde, we can blame all our problems and all our misgivings and all our problems and hassle on Mercury being in retrograde. It's not our fault for the next 3 weeks. Mercury in retrograde made me do it. So, Mercury in retrograde and the effects. So, miscommunications and arguments. So, maybe you've, I don't know, said something to somebody, sent an email to somebody, they've misunderstood it and it's caused an argument. Maybe you have an argument between you and your friend or you and your family. Difficulty in expressing yourself, difficult in putting your point forward, in other words. If you're trying to put an idea forward or your point forward, or you've been asked to explain yourself over something and you're going to have trouble trying to put that forward, trying to express how you feel or express your idea. Overly emotional and sensitive. Well, there's nothing new there, ladies of a certain age. Yes, I'm always overly emotional, and yes, I'm always oversensitive, but apparently we will be more so during Mercury in retrograde. Apparently it's going to upset us. Not that I need any more upsetting. Overly critical of ourselves and others. So I'm a big fan of this. I do this an awful lot to myself. I over criticise myself. I'm constantly saying, oh God, Sills, why didn't you do it this way properly in the first place? Well, that wasn't very good, was it, Sills? You should have done it that way. And we do it with others as well. We can be very critical of how people do things, other people do things. It doesn't sit well with us, or they've done something and they don't like the way, we don't like the way they've done it. We can be very critical about how they've done it or why they've done it. Traffic delays and minor accidents. There's always traffic delays. Don't matter where in the world you go, there are always traffic delays, and some days are worse than others. And yes, there are minor accidents as well. It's something that we can't avoid. However, if you've heard there's been an accident before you set out for work, might be advisable to come out 5 minutes earlier to try and avoid it, because they tend to be a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for, a bit more abundant, shall we say, during Mercury in retrograde. Revisiting old traumas. This is something we need to not try and do, lovelies. There are things that happen in our lives that we do not wish to repeat, that we like to lock away in a box and never visit again. And sometimes during Mercury in retrograde, these things rear their ugly head. You could meet an old boyfriend or girlfriend that upset you. You could bump into an old work colleague or a boss, or you could be contacted by an old job that you left that caused you trauma. The best thing to do, lovelies, is, as I always say, just walk away, Renee. There is no need. Just walk away and leave it. Don't revisit it, because it's only going to upset you and it ain't worth it. Anxious, nervous and clumsy. Well, there's me to a T. Yes, it will make you slightly more anxious. Yes, it will make you slightly more nervous, because you're wondering what the hell's going to happen next with Mercury in retrograde. What the hell's going to happen next? And yes, it will make you more clumsy. You might fall over, you might drop stuff. Hey ho. Try not to dwell on it, especially with the anxiety and the nervousness. Try not to dwell on it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and there's not a lot you can do about it, so try not to worry about it. Frustrated and struggling to complete easy tasks. There's me again. I get annoyed with myself because I've not completed one of the easiest tasks of the day. And then I get annoyed with myself, and then I get angry with myself. Yes, you're going to have that problem, because you'll start a job and somebody will come along and say, oh, can you leave that and can you start this job? Can you not bother doing that and can you start this job? And then an hour later they'll come back and say, why haven't you done that job? Well, you bloody told me not to do it, so I'm not doing it. It's just one of them things. You've just got to plod through it, I'm afraid, lovelies. You can't get annoyed because you've not completed a task. We all have days like that, and they'll probably be a bit more abundant during Mercury in retrograde. It's one of them things, it can't be helped. Mental health and mental clarity. Brain fog, in other words. Yes. Mercury in retrograde will cloud your mentality, your judgments, your clarity. You'll find yourself questioning yourself. Did I do that job? Why have I done it this way? It's one of them things. It can't be helped, I'm afraid. Yeah, you will get brain fog. You will question, did you do that job? Why did you do that way? You've just got to ride it out, I'm afraid. Rekindling toxic relationships that should have been left in the past. Biggie, an absolute bloody biggie. Right, so it doesn't have to be a relationship with a husband, a wife, a girlfriend, partner, or anything like that. It can be a work toxic relationship, it can be a friendship toxic relationship, it can be a family toxic relationship. If this person is coming to you wanting to be your friend, be part of the family, come back and join the work group, and making you feel guilty, for the love of God, don't do it. Walk away from it, because all that is going to do is it's going to reignite it, and you are going to feel 10 times as worse than what you did. All that hard work you did from walking away and trying to rebuild a life without this toxicity in your life. No. Best thing to do is walk away from it, because it ain't worth the hassle and it ain't worth the grief. So be careful out there for the next 3 weeks, lovelies. You might sail through it and be lucky. You might have an absolute shit show for the next 3 weeks, and if anything that goes wrong will go wrong. So just be careful while you're out there, lovelies. So me and the Woo Bear are going to finish off our walk. Then I'm going to go home for a cup of tea and a potter about. Means I'm not at work today. Back to work tomorrow as normal. So, on this slightly brighter Bank Holiday Easter Monday, please look after yourselves, lovelies. And remember, if you're struggling, do reach out, because there's always somebody there that will help you. Look after one another, because it's important. And if nothing else in this world, lovelies, please be kind, because you don't know what that other person's going through that stood next to you. And from me and Woo, who's begging me for sweeties, we are sending you all much love and many blessings.